Welcome to Inchworm,
Oh, I haven't finished my almond yet. I'm so sorry.
the podcast where Jenny hasn't finished her almond yet. I'm Ted.
I
Almond 1.1. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
have a prediction about what's going to happen to this almond.
Oh no. Welcome to Inchworm.
The podcast in which we're inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Tangle 6.3.
Ooh.
The chapter that Ted asked me beforehand, do you want to know how worried you should be? And I said, yes. And he said, not worried. And I was like, oh, great. So it was a much chiller experience than it could have been.
Like, I really wasn't expecting on a reread that this chapter would be bad. But then as it started to unfold, I was like, oh no, is this worse than I remember it? Like, how bad does this situation end up being?
Not bad.
And yeah, it turns out, but there might have been some tension in the middle of the chapter.
It is exactly the kind of thing that would really bother me, not knowing it was going to turn out okay. So I really appreciated the knowledge of me you demonstrated there.
Yeah. Anything else to say about the chapter before you summarize it?
I mean, I think we're going to talk a lot about sexual tension and awkwardness.
Yeah, that's about it.
Everyone's favorite topics. So you want to hear what happened in this chapter?
I do. Remind me.
Well, there was some awkwardness, and then some sexual tension, and then some more awkwardness, and different kinds of tension.
Yeah.
Is that good? Should I go deeper? Or?
Yeah, I think that was good.
Okay,
all
right.
Yeah.
Any constructive feedback?
I mean, what I'll say is I had some opinions reading the chapter, and that's probably all for Inchworm this week.
See you next time. No. In this chapter, Taylor goes into Brian's apartment with him. Brian's bringing some furniture boxes. She feels incredibly awkward. We learn that Taylor doesn't know how to make small talk. She always thinks of it ahead of time.
Yeah. I want to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah.
She sees the apartment. It's big and spacious, and she said she feels a sense of ease looking at it. And there's a couple of things to put together. They put together a bookcase. Brian is working near her, and he touches her sometimes. At one point, he's like, you can relax. And she realizes she's been holding her breath. And she's like, haha, sorry, I just get really nervous near people. I'm always worried that I smell bad. And she's like, why did I say that? And he puts his face even closer to her so their noses are touching. And it's like, no, you smell great. And then the door opens.
Oh my goodness.
Brian's sister comes in with her caseworker. Taylor has a lot of very judgy things to think about Aisha, the sister, which we'll talk about. And the caseworker comes in and is like, I expected you to be more prepared. And he was like, I expected you at 2 this afternoon. And it turns out Aisha told the caseworker Brian wanted her earlier and did not tell Brian this because Aisha wants to go see a movie later with her friends. Yeah. So they clear up the misunderstanding and Brian starts giving the caseworker a tour of the apartment, which leaves Taylor and Aisha in the kitchen alone. And Aisha says, so, you're on my brother's team. And Taylor's like, what? I know he boxes, but it turns out Aisha knows about the Undersiders because Brian told her he had a power because he thinks maybe she'll get a power too and he wanted her to be prepared. And Aisha did some detective work and realized who Brian has to be and what supervillain gang he's on. Taylor plays dumb, I think actually very effectively. I mean, I don't think Aisha's convinced, but I think Taylor is doing a good job of pretending. Yeah. But Aisha is still like, oh, so you must be Bug Girl. And she's talking about it loudly, almost loudly enough for the caseworker to hear. Then the caseworker and Brian come back in and basically the caseworker is like, this all looks really good, except you haven't really given Aisha a hand in making this a home. You've really decorated it to your own aesthetic and she's a serial runaway. She needs to feel like this is home. And Brian's like, okay, is this fixable? And basically it is. It seems like she's going to check in again soon. And she offers, because of the mix-up with the time, to keep Aisha with her that afternoon, maybe introduce her to a few others who've, not done well after they've gotten into trouble or something like that. So it seems like she's, basically on Brian's side in this, but she's really, really holding him to a high standard. And then they leave, the caseworker and Aisha leave, and Taylor gives Brian a heads up that Aisha knows about the Undersiders, and he's like, oh man, yeah, I would have warned you if I'd known you guys were going to be seeing each other. And Brian's a little disturbed that Aisha would talk about it to someone who he hadn't cleared. And then, when they're talking about that, Taylor gets a text from Lisa, which says, sorry to interrupt Smoochfest.
Smoochfest!
Yeah, you two need to hurry back. Shit is going down. So... And then Brian's really disappointed because I guess he had plans for his time with Taylor that he does not specify. And Taylor's like, ugh, I can't tell if I'm being hopeful or observant when I think maybe he's like holding my hand a little longer than he needs to. And she's like, oh, this is really bad either way. I need to move my timeline up. She now is only giving herself a week to find out as much as she can about the Undersiders, about the boss, which has been, her lingering goal in remaining with the Undersiders. And then she's going to have to turn what she knows over to the Protectorate because she can't trust herself for any longer than that.
Huh, yeah. I mean, totally reasonable. Makes sense. Definitely going to go down just like that.
Yeah, she's predicting it, and I'm sure her predictions are always true.
Good
just like
summary.
Mine.
Yeah, there's some good stuff here.
Yeah, it's like a relatively chill chapter, but a few really significant things happen. And then at the end, we have these two different, big things that are launched. Both there's something happening that Lisa needs them back for. We have no idea what it is yet. And Taylor is moving up her timeline, and she's planning to turn the Undersiders in a week.
Yeah, well, do you want to start there? Do you want to circle back to that for predictions? What are you excited to get into?
Well, I want to say, I think that Taylor's timeline, like you said, maybe it'll just go down like she says. My prediction is that it's not that a week from now she'll be like, I've changed my mind. I think that whatever action is happening is going to be very involved and will result in them sort of being in the middle of crisis mode a week from now. And she'll say, well, I can't turn them in now. I need to wait until the situation resolves.
Sure. Yeah.
And just that acts as a stalling tactic.
Yeah. If her date had been in the middle of this confrontation with the ABB, there'd be no way that she would.
Right. She wasn't about to turn them in the middle of taking down the ABB. So this is going to be... a week is a long time in the timeline of this story. Lot
that's a
of
good
things
point.
can happen by then. So I don't know if it's going to be exactly this next crisis, but maybe something that evolves from this next crisis.
Right.
So, yeah. As for what is going down, this is definitely predictions territory, but, it's not very connected to this chapter, so no reason we can't talk about it first. The most obvious thing to me would be that one of the other supervillain gangs, probably Kaiser's, has made some move against the others.
Ooh, yeah. Really picking up the beat from the beginning of last arc. We sort of get it's an uneasy truce.
Yeah. I think that because Coyle was sort of leading this whole thing, it's a little less likely that his gang is going to pounce in the middle of the dissolution, because I think him sort of being in charge of this whole thing is kind of doing something for his image in the supervillain community that he wants.
Yeah.
It's possible that it just seems like a really good cover, pretend to be reasonable and in charge and then use that to act. That could be the case. I don't think it's going to be Fault Line's crew because Coyle paid them.
Right.
And I think they wouldn't take another contract to betray an original contract. That seems like bad business.
Right. Bad for your brand. Sure.
Yeah. So if it's not them, the Travelers could be doing something, but they really just got here. I imagine they'd want to see what's going on for a little longer. But the Travelers we did hear earlier in this arc, we kind of got them hyped up. We learned what a big deal they are. I feel like Kaiser's gang has proven themselves the most annoying thus far, in terms of interactions with other villains. And they're definitely the most evil-coded, so that's where my money is.
Yeah, that's a solid prediction. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We don't really get any details at all to ground it. It's just sort of we have to think about the larger situation.
Yeah, I don't really have any idea. Because, what even would they be doing?
Right.
Seizing territory from Coyle's gang? The Undersiders don't have any territory. Presumably they're not invading the loft. That would be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they would be doing if not attacking one of the other gangs. Maybe they're attacking all of the gangs. things.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
I don't know why they would want to do that. That seems stupid, but...
Well, yeah, I don't know. Why does any villain gang want to rule the city? It's interesting.
Well, just that attacking the other villains, like, all at the same time seems like a bad idea.
Right. I mean, good stuff. I
feel like it's not a very good prediction. I don't really know what's happening. Maybe it's just that Bakuda was found and took out the heroes, and now the villains need to take her down or something.
Yeah. Oh, that could be really
because
dramatic.
we haven't resolved the Bakuda loose thread.
Right.
So yeah, who knows?
Good stuff.
So should we talk about this chapter?
I mean, yeah, let's get into it.
Ryan's apartment chapter.
Do you want to start with the apartment? Did his aesthetics leave an impression on you?
Oh, it seemed so cozy. Taylor's like, yeah, this bookshelf full of like novels, and like these old books with like cracked spines,
a bowl with like
plants,
smooth rocks and bamboo,
and this cozy chair where Taylor can see herself curling up and reading.
Oh, I know. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
She was surprised not because it necessarily seemed at odds with Brian, but because it didn't look like what she expected like a young bachelor apartment to look like.
Yeah, and his building is like so sort of sterile and modern. It feels very much like a place I lived in my 20s that was like all young professionals.
That place.
Who,
yes.
Yeah. And I did a much worse job than Brian at making the apartment itself like feel cozy and stuff. So yeah, it really seems like he went out of his way to kind of curate this vibe.
I was so surprised by the caseworker's feedback. I think, on the one hand, I feel like she's being so picky and having a stable home environment for this teen, which it seems like Brian is offering, is like she says, like, this is what we like to see. This is kind of a dream situation, but like, you didn't let her help decorate. I'm like, really? On the other hand, I guess, like, I think she probably makes a good point that, like, Aisha is a serial runaway and, like, letting her invest in this as a home would be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like she's kind of using it as a, like... I mean, she's using the power she has, right? Because she can decide against him. She's using it to enforce, like... It feels like a very, very high standard of something that, like, Brian would probably want to do himself if she was just like, this would be a good idea. But I can see why, like, she's kind of using the stick in her hand to try to get him to do it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I agree that she's a stickler. I sort of feel like... I don't think there's a lot of, like, extra stuff going on behind the scenes for us to, like, suss out and interpret or whatever. But I do kind of think she's happy to have surprised him and been here early, right? I buy that Aisha lied to her.
Right,
and
right.
Maybe she got
But I think it's a
caught
nice
out by that.
opportunity.
But it's a really
her.
good opportunity, and Brian calls that out immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that she picks up on what's going on with Taylor right away, like, oh, that girl seems a little young for him and should be in school, so I'm going to zero in on that and, like, test that thing. She's really good at, like, looking for the weak spots. And then if you are going to encourage somebody to do their best and you're in that kind of position, I totally get why you're going to be like, I have to find an angle so that I can kind of maintain some of the power in this situation, right?
Right.
Even if she comes in and she's like, honestly, Brian seems like he's got this guardian thing under control. He's got the money. He's got the responsibility, right? You know, what can I latch onto so that I can give him constructive feedback and make sure that he's, you know, still trying and stuff. And it gives him an opportunity to lose his temper, say, you're being so unreasonable, right? And he takes it in stride, right? Like, there's a bit at the beginning when he almost is maybe going to start yelling at Aisha, not necessarily in like a super hostile way, but like then he sees that the caseworker is there. He's on his best behavior. He realizes that Aisha lied, but he doesn't say, well, she lied to you, right? The caseworker figures that out, right? So like, it is kind of a good opportunity to test his character in like a, you know, subtle way.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, that she probably needed to find something to make him continue to try. So he's not just like, oh, I've got this in the bag. I can do whatever I want now, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know that we know enough to know, like, does she have a good take on Aisha? What she's saying is pretty reasonable, that, like, if you want it to have a chance of working out, you need to make her feel like she's at home.
Yeah.
Aisha is, a huge brat in this chapter, but, like, not necessarily in a worse than replacement bratty little sister way.
Yeah.
At least was my take of her. So I don't know that just based on this chapter, I would, believe that if Aisha moved in tomorrow, she would run away the next week necessarily.
But if she's a serial runaway, I mean,
right.
I guess it's also like the caseworker must be thrilled inside to be like, oh, this is such a good environment. I can really try to make it a great place for Aisha.
Exactly.
Like I can try to push it this extra step because most of the important things are still here, are already here.
And I mean, it also makes sense. It would probably be inadvisable, unprofessional for her to say while the process is ongoing, don't worry, man, you got it in the bag. Like, I promise you're going to get Aisha, right? If it's not actually decided, if she hasn't actually made her recommendation, right. You don't want to get ahead of that, whatever that process is.
Yeah, she seems like she's, a staunch professional.
Yeah, I mean, so Taylor feels at ease in the apartment. But then she also has this, like, thought that the vibe the apartment gives off makes her feel more distant from Brian in some way.
I was intrigued by that. I wasn't sure what she was saying with that.
Yeah.
At first I was like, okay, something about the apartment, like, makes her feel more at ease. And she thinks that makes Brian different from her. Because she kind of says, like, it made me realize how different we were in some ways. And I was like, what, because you don't like feeling at ease? Or you're just a really intense person? I guess you are.
I had two thoughts. One is that he's so self-assured and she's so insecure.
Yeah.
Like, that could be the contrast. Or it could be he's older, he's actually, like, in this way, he's so much more adult and mature than I am. Like, I don't know if it's either of those.
I think it was more of the second thing. I think that this puts me at ease was separate from this makes me realize how different we are.
Yeah.
Because she's sort of saying, not so much that I was jealous of the place, but it made me realize how different we were. I think it's more for the same reasons she would be jealous. Like, oh, this is such a nice place. It, like, clearly money has gone into this. She had been talking last chapter about, like, and our front steps are broken. Like, we're one of the many, like, every house on our street has, like, something wrong with it that'll never really be fixed. And here's this, like, really fancy, like, apartment with, like, a loft bedroom, and it's open plan and sunny and has this really cozy furniture. And she's like, oh, this is totally different from my life, is I think what she's saying.
Yeah.
Even though she now has access to that kind of money, but she's not going to take it.
Right. But it's interesting that she doesn't judge Brian for it. Because I could imagine a version of Taylor who comes in and is like,
ill-gotten
that
gains.
Bamboo must have cost, this much money.
Someone's life.
Right.
I mean, not life.
Right.
Well, we don't know who the murderers are. But.
Yeah. How many, casino employees lost their jobs thanks to... I don't know.
Right, she's not really thinking that at all.
Yeah. And it could be because she's not
plan to turn them in.
It could be because she's not making the connection, or it could be. I mean, it's also kind of reasonable to, like, just sort of accept.
I mean, she doesn't make the connection at all of this entire chapter of, like, Brian's trying to take his sister in. He's working really hard to build this life for her. He's able to do it because he's an Undersider. The group I'm planning to turn into the Protectorate.
Exactly.
Is she going to give them his address?
Yeah.
Is she going to give them his real identity? She has his last name now.
Yeah. Now she's certainly going to do it before they decide about Aisha.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So she doesn't make the connection, but she's now intending to ruin this for Brian.
Yes. Yeah, she doesn't think about that at all. And it doesn't mean she's not going to think about it. I feel like sometimes it just doesn't come up in the narrative immediately.
Of course. And if the rest of the arc takes place in 24 hours, there's plenty of time. Right. We don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's really dark. And I mean, it is very dark that, like, to create this nice life for his sister, he has to have this life of crime.
Right. And kind of putting it in context, it's like, it's not like, I think we talked about maybe, like, could Brian sort of have made a choice to go straight? It seems pretty clear that he just didn't have the option on this time scale, because it's like there's this timeline coming up with Aisha that he only has a limited chance to,
right, and he probably is intending to move out of the world of supervillainy within a few years,
Right.
I don't know what his timeline is, but...
Right. We haven't really had a vision of that, of like,
Right.
What will happen when the Undersiders retire at
Right.
21 or whatever.
Yeah, I guess thinking about how bad things are in Brockton Bay for anyone who's not doing supervillainy, like, really does put into perspective, like, this caseworker is reaching for a problem here because she must deal with so many families that just have, like, nothing. 50% unemployment? Like, finding guardians with, like, stable incomes for kids who need them must be so hard.
How bad Taylor's school is, But it's nice that we have an authority figure who is playing it straight, who comes off really
doesn't suck,
There's this really nice moment where Taylor feels judged, but Taylor doesn't immediately go to like, but that's so unfair.
Yeah, she doesn't go negative on her. Yeah.
Actually,
like, it is fair. She should be in school. She knows it.
And this is maybe a pivot away from the caseworker thing, but I wanted to read that bit. Aisha's like smirky when she comes in and maybe a little judgmental in some way. And then the caseworker comes in and Taylor's like, oh, she doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Disapproval, dislike. I realized what I must look like. Slightly sweaty, on the floor amid pieces of furniture, stomach showing, practically glowing with a pink blush. I hurried to grab my sweatshirt and pull it on. I really love this moment, both for the, like, Taylor's awkwardness being perceived by someone else, but also this is a beat of Taylor having put on a costume and, like, being judged in a situation where she's like, no one's gonna see her and see, Taylor as she feels, like, what her identity is, right? Yeah. She's putting on this shirt that Lisa made her wear. Right. She has her sweatshirt off because she promised Lisa she would take it off, right? She's super awkward and uncomfortable, and she's kind of like the girlfriend character in this scene. It's great. It's so fun to find a way to thread the theme of, like, how are you perceived? How do you look to other people versus how do you feel on the inside without it having to do with
this one time that she, like, compromises on dressing like herself and does try to play the appearances game. It completely backfires.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's like, all right, I'll dress the way Lisa tells me to, like, make this visual impression on Brian that I guess I'm hoping to, but it doesn't work out that way at all because, in fact, there's a caseworker who's judging her instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emma would never be caught in this situation. Or if she did, she would play it off so gracefully.
But to your point, let's talk about the small talk thing.
My gosh.
We should get to Taylor's original conclusion, but I do think both the way she BS's the caseworker, she's like, oh, I got injured, so I'm out of school. Kind of a half-truth.
That was pretty impressive.
The way that Aisha's like, you're the bug girl. And Taylor, big O face, huge eyebrows, you mean Brian's a supervillain? Like, really overacting it. No, I think she acts it very well.
Yes.
But continuing to BS Aisha and doing a little bit of a dance of, like, even if that were true, why would you be saying it right now?
Yeah.
She is pretty good at social situations. Yeah.
But she was terrible with Brian at the beginning.
Right, but, like, so when she's, like...
her crush.
When she's, like, fighting for survival, or she knows what she needs to do, right, she locks in and she can BS and it's fine.
Yeah.
But, what is it?
We almost see the two versions of Taylor in this chapter. Like, when she's BSing for the caseworker and for Aisha, she's more skidder. Like, she's more a cape who's, like, doing her stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And with Brian at the beginning, like, she explicitly says, like, I reverted into my, like, most instinctive survival state of just, like, not, like, the freeze response. Like, don't say anything, don't do anything. She even stops breathing. Yeah. Brian's like,
But you're hanging out with someone that you want to touch and it feel good and tingly. Yeah. Like, that's a very relatable teenage experience, at least to me. Like, that feels very true to life. But the thing that was interesting is that she sort of connects it to, like, her awkwardness, her being in her head so much. She's saying, like, I'm not good on my feet in a social situation.
Yeah, which is not necessarily true.
Because I always plan ahead. And I like, don't know what to do in this kind of situation. And that to me, the sort of, like, I'm no good at small talk thing does feel a little bit different from, like,
I'm awkward because, I can't think. Right, she's sort of generalizing it, Which is funny because, yeah, like you said, it's not what we see from her in the second half of the chapter. I wonder if it's her being a little hard on herself, or I don't know.
I mean, she does. We talked about how she intellectualizes her emotions a lot, so this could be how it reads to her now. I think I sort of trust Taylor. Like, maybe this is just reading this, it's like updating my model of who Taylor is, that she's good at making small talk with Sundancer because she's highly motivated to build a relationship. Mm-hmm. And in this scene, she doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know...
Yeah, that's a good point. She doesn't know what she's trying for.
She doesn't know what the script is.
She doesn't know what Brian wants.
She sort of, maybe it's the thing that she can't do is like shoot the shit. She can't just like be like, yeah, I'm just going to go with the flow, like loosey-goosey. Like maybe that's what feels uncomfortable.
Okay.
Right.
That makes sense. She needs to be more motivated. And she is very motivated with both the caseworker and Aisha.
Yeah, right.
Ways.
Like you said, she puts on her skitter persona and she's like, no, now I have secrets and no one can know these secrets. And I know how to do that. The thing that her comment about, like, I always have to prepare what I'm going to say in advance, I just kept thinking of Mr. Collins in Pride and Prejudice.
Like, so are these the work of the moment, or do you prepare these witticisms in advance?
Yeah. I mean, I do relate. Like, I feel pretty comfortable with chit-chat, like making conversation. But I do have an intense... like awkwardness of like small talk, especially in like larger social situations. So I totally relate to the like, I don't know what to say, or like maybe the things that I would think to talk about are like way too intense for a particular conversation, or like, you know, the stuff that's on my mind doesn't feel like stuff I should be talking about. And that
I completely relate to it too. Like definitely not the global thing of I can't do small talk, but the specific thing of I feel awkward in this situation. I desperately want to come up with something to say, and all I can think about is how I can't think of anything to say. Is incredibly relatable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once you get stuck in that spot, it's so hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
And it is, like you were saying, it's because she doesn't even know what she's trying for here. She doesn't understand the situation. She doesn't know what Brian's thinking about her or about what's going to happen. Like
the thing that it feels most like to me is like how I feel about like dancing at a party sometimes. Like when I'm not thinking about it, it's fine. But then when I get in my head about like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? Should I be moving my arms more? You know, like it's like I almost like totally shut down, and you know, it's like that thinking about breathing.
Start spiraling.
Yeah. So I really do relate to.
Oh yeah, I mean she's such a teenager with a crush in this.
Yeah.
He puts his hand over hers. I think I need to read the response that she has when that happens.
Yeah.
Without glancing my way, he placed his hand over top of mine to adjust the angle a fraction. The contact made me feel like someone had plucked a guitar string that ran from the top of my head down through the middle of my body. A thrum deep inside me that couldn't be heard, only felt. Really excellent, like, I guess, like, sexual tension response, like, attraction.
Yeah, I love it. Can you read the like, Looney Tunes Auga response later, after he says she smells nice?
Oh, yeah. Then Brian leaned close, closing the scant inches of distance that separated us, until our noses were practically touching. Nope, you smell nice, he told me. If I'd been a cartoon character, I was pretty sure that was the point where I'd have steam shooting out of my ears, or I'd be melting into a puddle.
I love it so much. I mean, it's so fun. Just Wildbow's so good with details of a scene, like small physical descriptions. It works really well in superhero fight scenes, but I love seeing it just this really low-key moment. It's just taking Taylor from like, okay, I got to the apartment, I took my sweatshirt off, and how does that feel? You know, I put it underneath the furniture, and how does that feel? I touch, what does it mean? What are the three things that it means? Oh no, he's touching me again. Right? It's so good.
Yes.
The bit Brian gives her an out and she decides to stay, and then Brian smiles and she's like, now I knew why I decided to stay. It's so good.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of reading and writing. Like, I do a lot of thinking about, like, how to describe, like, attraction and sexual tension and, like, longing and that kind of thing. And, this is done really, really well.
Is she being hopeful or observant, Jenny? What do you think?
Both.
Both.
I mean, yeah. Well, she's clearly hoping for it. I mean, that's just obvious. Like, even if intellectually...
I mean, is she being just hopeful?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I think she's being observant.
Yeah.
I think that you don't lean close enough. I guess their noses aren't touching. They're practically touching. You don't lean that close to someone if you're not, like, you know, at least feeling soming. It's unclear
100%.
that Brian
100%.
is intending anything.
No,
I felt like at the end...
I mean, to me, this is the line. Leaning in and saying you smell nice, that's flirting. It's undeniable.
But I mean, it's unclear if he's intending something to happen, I guess, or intending them to date, or, like, you know, something beyond that.
Yeah.
I did think...
That's a classic kissing situation.
I mean, yeah, and then the door opens right then.
Yeah.
At the end, when, you know, Taylor's like, Lisa says we have to hurry back. Pain in the ass, Brian said. I was hoping... hell. Guess we're not going to get this stuff put together, huh? Is that what you were hoping for, Brian? Because I don't think so. I mean, what Lisa had to say about it was that, you know, she didn't think even Brian knew exactly what he wanted. And we had said last time or the time before that Brian probably doesn't want to start something right now.
Yeah.
When, like, with this person on his supervillain team while he's trying to get custody of his sister. Like, this would be a terrible time for him to, like, start anything serious. And Taylor's a terrible person for him to start something just, like, super casual. Like, hey, let's just make out with. Because, like, she's on his team. She's 3 years younger. Like, that would be a really bad idea for him to do. Right.
And it's clear that he did not intend... Well, this chapter is Brian getting caught in the tangle, right? He's Gru until that door opens, and then suddenly he's fully Brian, right? And has to be he's juggling the two pieces of his life, which is kind of the thing that Taylor is worried about.
And then his sister knows about the other piece of his life, and that's part of the tangle.
Yeah. I mean, I think you are right that it's unclear that he is looking to start dating Taylor actively or even start making out with her. So he might just be kind of in denial about, like, oh, well, I'm not going to try anything. Like, I just want her to come over. I just want her to help me with this. Like, yeah. I just think the you smell nice thing, I don't think we can possibly argue it's all in Taylor's head anymore. To me, that crosses the line.
I don't think it's all in Taylor's head.
The other thing that I observed about Brian is that moment when she's being awkward and he says, relax, you're allowed to breathe. I think it's really Brian, and something that we've seen before from him, that he's kind of like giving instructions, taking control of the situation. Mm-hmm. He's sort of like telling Taylor how to put on the zip ties, how to choke out lead. He says, good girl, that kind of thing. Right? Like, I guess the way he is sort of guiding or like taking control, it's very different from being like, hey, you okay? Like, hey, Taylor, you okay?
True,
being like, relax. Yeah. You're allowed to breathe. I feel like that's very, very Brian. It's like a good...
Very Dom-coded.
Yes. Yes. And then all of a sudden the caseworker's there.
Aisha's there.
There.
All right, I want to talk about this description of Aisha. I was so offended. Okay.
We gotta get into it.
Taylor says, it's like you could look at a Mercedes and say that it was a beautiful work of art, even if you weren't someone who paid much attention to cars. Along similar lines, when you saw a Mercedes with a cheap flame decal pasted around the wheels and a tacky homemade spoiler stuck on the back, it was painful and disappointing on a fundamental level. That was what I felt looking at Aisha. She talks about how she's really beautiful, just as good looking as Brian, but, you know, in a different way. She says, I could be convinced to chop off a finger for legs, a waist, and hips like hers, which that's a side point, but that's extreme. She says, okay, all that said, though, she had a streak of hair bleached, and some of that bleached hair had been dyed into a stripe of purple. It was as though she had gone out of her way to look trashy, with ripped denim shorts over neon green fishnet leggings and a strapless top I would hesitate to even call underwear. Any envy I felt towards her was accented by an almost offended feeling, as far as how she was spoiling what she'd been naturally given. She just sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a cool...
What are you, Taylor? Just like someone's grandpa being like, kids these days and they're ripped denim.
She's a cool alt kid, right?
She has a streak of purple hair. Yeah, that's not like spoiling
emo or mod. Like I'd have to refresh my recollection of like what the specific.
I mean, like 14 years ago,
alt style was in 2009.
I guess Is it 2011?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I guess having dyed hair was like a bigger deal like 14, 15 years ago. Like, I feel like it has become more mainstream, but like, that's not
in
trashy,
like,
Taylor.
upper middle class Connecticut, like, I don't know.
I assume that like people dress like this at Taylor's school all the time. Like, this should not be.
Yeah.
Maybe they do, and they're the kids that she doesn't like or that she has a negative opinion of, and so she's like, oh, she could be so beautiful, but she looks like all those trashy kids.
Yeah. I mean, I do think this is the characterization fits Taylor. The prudishness, the sort of internalized misogyny, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, it fits this sort of like sheltered, very like in books and in her head kind of kid.
Yeah, because I mean, she hasn't been super sheltered.
She's uncomfortable wearing a crop top.
Yeah.
She has some insecurities about her body. It makes sense to be sort of projecting these feelings. Like, maybe she's afraid of being seen as
trashy,
or maybe even just of being sexualized in any way at all. So like Aisha wearing a low-cut top. Yeah. I understand where Taylor's coming from. I do feel a little bit like there's a bit where that I think is good, the sort of like she's going to grow up to be beautiful. I feel like that really conveys it. There are a few lines that are like very micro sexualizing her of like her breasts were bigger than mine and like really getting into her features, which
that feels like very like a girl envy thing more than sexualizing. Well, because she's like, oh, she's 2 or 3 years younger, but her breasts are bigger than mine, and we know Taylor's so self-conscious of being flat chested. It felt weird. It felt weird to me, especially because she's younger. I guess remembering being a kid, right? The way that a 13-year-old looks when you're 15 is very different from how it looks when you're older. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you're more naturally comparing yourself.
Right, and especially at that age, like she's not very far out of the age where you're like, oh, that girl's younger than me, so she should be less developed. She's 15, she sees like a 13-year-old, and she's like, oh, it's so unfair that she's more developed.
Yeah, and that's, not to get us too far off, but I feel like Aisha does that to Taylor when she says, well, why would he be hanging out with you?
Yeah.
Like, you could take that as like, my brother wouldn't be into you, but I take it as like, you're little, like me, right? It feels very little sistery, like you're closer to my age than his age. Like, it's that pecking order of like, age really should dictate. You don't belong in his category, Yeah.
I did expect when she was talking about how like Aisha's so beautiful but she's ruining it, I expected her to be wearing terrible makeup. Because like that's the kind of thing I could imagine myself thinking with like, why are you wearing that hideous makeup? You're obviously beautiful, but that makes you look so much worse. Like I could imagine that being sort of like just a gut response. But more than I would be like, oh, your outfit's cool, like kind of funky, cool. Yeah. So maybe I shouldn't throw stones at Taylor. I just have like a different angle on what would make me think like, she's really ruining her beauty.
Yeah. And it is, like, I don't know, the whole spoiling, like who cares, Taylor?
It's a very judgmental, like there's a way that she should be using these looks that she was given, and it's not the way she is
she should be dressing like Emma, right? Like that's what Taylor believes, even if she's not saying it, right? That's the revealed opinion.
No, that is true. Wow. You know what, Taylor? At least she doesn't have plastic surgery. Like she could just, change her clothes. Like there's not like it's weird to talk about spoiling something when it's like something you could change in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and Taylor, you just got judged for your butterfly crop top, and you're a supervillain who covers herself in bugs and beats people up. Come on.
But she only does that because she's eventually going to take down that group of supervillains in a week at most.
Yeah, and Aisha is clearly insinuating herself into a band to take them over from the inside.
Yes, that's why she's dressed like that. And then she's going to turn the band over to the authorities.
Exactly. So we talked a lot about how Aisha looks, but what are your other impressions of her? Like, she's such a thorn in Brian's side.
Oh, yeah, she's a real tricky one.
But, like, what do you think?
I mean, she seems like a classic, like, kid who is not getting the connection and support that she needs and is acting out. And I don't know that Brian's going to do a good job dealing with her. As I've said before, like he's really bad at dealing with Rachel. I hope that he at least finds different methods of dealing with Aisha. He seems very determined to do it. Yeah, I don't know. It is clear to me at one point Taylor's like, I guess she says this to Aisha, like, what do you have to gain by accusing your brother of being a supervillain? And it's really clear to me why, if Aisha thinks that this is true, she would want to be a part of it. Like, your older, cool brother is a supervillain and won't admit it to you. Like, of course you want to poke at this. You want to be a part of this.
Yeah, you're the kid sister. You want to be involved. You know the secret and no one will tell you the secret.
Yeah,
it's like
no one will
unfair.
Acknowledge that you know the secret.
Yeah.
No one will acknowledge that you're just as, like, cool and grown up as he is.
Yeah.
Like, clearly you're doing all these grown up things. You're lying to caseworkers and sneaking off to movies. Like, just like he's also... Actually, that's going to be really interesting when he's trying to get her to, like, stay on the like, straight and narrow, and she's going to be like, you're a supervillain who dropped out of school.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think there's probably a way he could play it where he's like, yeah, and I'm doing it really smartly. Like, what's your plan?
Yeah.
Give me your plan. And convince me of your plan, and then you can do it.
I don't remember a ton about how I felt in this scene the first time through, but I do think that I was reading Worm at such a pace when, like, really, like, anyone who was, like, a narrative obstacle, like, at all, really got on my nerves. And so I feel like it was one of those things where, like, you're inclined, I feel like, much less likely to second guess what Taylor's first impressions are as I'm kind of going through. Mm-hmm. But rereading this, I was like, oh yeah, I actually love how in this scene, like, she's obviously a brat. And annoying Brian. And like all of the things that she's pulling in this chapter are super annoying and well calibrated to tick him off, which is great. Excellent little sibling behavior. But the fact that she knows so much about Brian and can identify who Taylor is shows that she's actually really perceptive and smart, which I thought was really fun to see.
And really interested in her older brother.
Yeah. And the, like, her little putting on an accent and being like, oh, well, Ladybug and Gru in the house. Like, I thought it was funny. I was like, I feel like
she's fun.
Yeah.
She's got character.
Yeah. It was a pretty good first impression, despite the fact that she's an obstacle.
Oh,
for, both of them in this scene.
Yeah, I didn't come away with really a negative opinion of her. I do think she's going to be very difficult for Brian to wrangle. And I'm not convinced yet that he has a good approach with her. We haven't really seen much, but just, like, based on his approach with Rachel. Maybe he's so bad with Rachel because he's used to dealing with Aisha, who is a little bit more conversant in human interaction.
Yeah.
And that just makes him really bad with Rachel in comparison. There's an optimistic way to view it.
What do you make of just the fact that Aisha knows the secret, or, like, knows Taylor's secret?
I wonder, Taylor doesn't seem super alarmed by it. And I kind of agree with Brian that I don't expect Aisha to tell people. It would be very interesting if she did tell someone. She'd be more likely to tell about Brian than about Taylor. Like, she doesn't know Taylor's, last name, or, like, she doesn't know anyone in Taylor's life.
Yeah. I was thinking more like, I really enjoyed the undercutting of the typical plot of somebody's gonna find out, and that's like, where the tension comes from.
Yeah,
right. And it's like, it's actually like, this is it's very fun to have the curveball of, like, oh, you're Skitter, right? And Taylor being like, what? I gotta figure out what to do. And also that, to your point, even if she knows it, like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like,
probably not. Yeah,
at least in a way that's readily apparent.
Yeah, but it's all part of the tangle.
There's also, what it says about Brian, that he does seem to have stuff together, but, like, the fact that he sort of feels like he could get away with not telling the Undersiders how much Aisha knows suggests some optimism that he can avoid the tangle as well.
Well, he's a control freak, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
And so he thinks that he can, control the different parts of his life, and he wants to handle that on his own. And
it is, I thought, really sweet that he told Aisha that he had powers.
Yeah.
I really loved that older sibling concern of, like, hey, we know sometimes this stuff happens in families, and, like, I want you to be you need to be prepared.
Yeah. Must have been pretty scary for him to have powers. Figure that out at first. I had another thought on the name of the arc, the whole Tangle thing.
Ooh.
We were just talking about how probably she's not going to turn them in a week's time. She's going to find some reason not to. And it occurred to me, like, what if it's not so much that she's like, oh, we're in the middle of something, I don't want to turn them in now. What if it's more like, oh, somehow I've gotten myself entangled such that I cannot turn them in because, I don't know, there's some leverage, something that would be too incriminating of her, something that she has to do or finish or owes to someone on the Undersiders that is too somehow too significant for her to just go ahead and turn them in.
That.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what it would be, but like that's the whole entangled in the Undersiders angle, I think, would be really fun.
Right. Yeah, more of a plot tangle and not just an emotional tangle.
Oh, when we were predicting, Lisa's whole, stuff's happening, I did not think of the possibility that this is a reaction to Taylor putting out Loon's eyes. It kind of seems like some time has passed, so probably at this point no one's going to be, reacting super strongly to that, but...
It's tough to tell. I mean, yeah. It takes time to put a plan together sometimes.
Right, but it's not. There's not an immediate surge of outrage from the other villains or anything. So it could be something. Kaiser's
we certainly haven't seen
this girl broke the rules of engagement. Kaiser's mad because Taylor took out Loon when he couldn't.
Yeah,
he was knocked out, and that was so humiliating.
Yeah.
So now he has to figure out a way to take her down, just like Loon does.
That makes sense.
Kaiser's teamed up with Loon to take down Taylor.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know, it's bad.
Uh-oh.
We never thought we'd see this alliance. It's actually really against all of Kaiser's principles. And yet.
I had one other thought. We hit this beat again. The caseworker comes in and is like, I guess I could come back later, but it'll be a while.
Yeah.
And Brian looks at Taylor, looks back at the caseworker and says, I don't really have anything to hide.
Yeah.
Again, we just keep hitting this beat about Brian being transparent.
And yet,
easy to read, right? And we've been talking about this a lot, and as I was editing, I think it was just the last episode, we were talking about it again, and I think I know what it is, or my theory on it now is that Brian is a sort of transparent person. When he's happy and smiles, everybody can see that, right? He is generally open. That's how he wants to be. That's how he is. And that's why he needs his power, or thinks he needs his power, right? It's almost to compensate. Even though that seems like such a virtue or a gift, the sort of I have an easygoing, I have an easygoing boyish smile. But what his power lets him do is make sure that nobody can ever see it. And I think that's a really fun way to think about that contrast and what it might mean.
I have such a hard time conceptualizing of Brian as transparent, just totally open like that. So I feel like so much of what we've seen of him seems like this very calm, in control of himself. And to me, that sounds like, I am in control of myself. I'm projecting something different from what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I think to me, being calm like that feels like it must be guarded to me, because maybe I'm not naturally like that. So for me, being open is being a little more enthusiastic and bouncing around.
But then maybe it's that the power is the equivalent of his ability to master his emotions, right? He can't keep his smile from shining out except with his power, but maybe some of the time he sort of can do it the way,
No, I mean, I think
can.
You were right. It's just that, to me, being unguarded looks more like acting like Lisa, when in fact we've already seen Lisa have layers and layers of secrets.
Ooh.
And we don't actually know that Brian has any secrets.
Yeah.
We've heard his trigger event. We've heard basically his life story.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. And we talked about this too, is that when he's talking about his trigger event, that's the time when he seems most emotionally
true.
Closed off.
Yeah.
Which is
and yet he's being very transparent about what happened, and in a way that neither Alec nor Lisa was willing to be. And so I think it's just I just don't expect someone to actually be like that. I expect someone to more naturally be, like Lisa, who is in fact, I think, projecting a facade almost all the time.
Right. Yeah, and it'll be fun to keep coming back to it. It's not like a puzzle to be solved necessarily, right? It's it's a fun character dynamic
in more detail.
Yeah. But I just can't believe how many times we're hitting this beat. Brian has nothing to hide, right?
Yeah.
I mean, without spoiling anything, narratively, that does set up a kind of it would be so interesting if suddenly there was a secret, right? After we hit this beat so much.
That's true.
But
You know, he comments on Taylor's scent in this. Taylor doesn't comment on his scent. Does he have a natural scent to
That's
humans?
true. Oh my gosh.
We did have her smelling like leather and I forget what else.
Shaving
it was.
cream.
Shaving cream, yeah.
Yeah.
So probably she'd smell those things again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tattletale calls it Smooch Fest. I loved that.
Sadly, the smooching did not happen. Smoochless fest.
Any other thoughts?
Smooch fest, more like smooch less. No, I think that's it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I regret to tell you that there are no new
Okay,
cape
not
names,
surprising.
But I can tell you the first sentence of Tangle 6.4.
Yes, please.
Thanks to a concerted effort by...
Brian and me, we got to the loft in not very much time.
What if I told you in the sentence it started with an open double quote?
Oh!
Thanks to a concerted effort by...
Oh, this is going to be one of the other villains talking about how they... Or maybe it's the news talking about how the ABB has been totally destroyed. And Bakuda has been caught. Yeah, so this is going to be like a news program that they're watching back at the loft talking about how the heroes have captured Bakuda.
Wow.
Yeah.
If that's true, what does that mean about shit going down?
I guess if they've captured Bakuda, that means the alliance is over. So, yeah, they're going to be turning on each other. I don't know.
Yikes. Could be bad.
Yeah.
Could be cool, though. I mean, that'd be great. Don't have to worry about Bakuda anymore.
Right, we just have to worry about Kaiser, I guess?
Yeah, I guess.
We'll see.
Or probably no one. Yeah. They
It's
all
gonna be
threw
fluff,
down,
yeah.
all the villains threw down their weapons and surrendered.
So when she said shit was going down, she meant there was shit, but now it's down.
Yeah. Yeah. Lisa's writing in all lowercase. There is a new villain name in the next chapter. It's shit. They went down.
They went down, yeah. Yeah, they're done. Nothing. No
Good
need to worry
stuff.
about that.
Amazing how much a single punctuation mark difference can make in your prediction.
It's really true. Really true.
All right. We'll find out next time.
On Inchworm.
Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.